I don't know about you, but the first time I gave my life to Christ, I'm pretty sure that it was a sermon that ended up being about hell and me realizing that I did not want to go to hell. So, I gave my life to Christ. And then I collected it back on Monday. But it was always that giving my life and collecting it back, giving my life and collecting it. Just that I didn't realize the weight of what it meant to let go of my life and take on the life of Christ. But Jesus says that who will build a house and first won't sit down and count the cost. Today we are going to be looking at the importance of us counting the cost of following Jesus. We are fond of saying that we're giving our life to Christ. Giving our life to Christ means that we can collect it back. And there's an all occasion that, and if you would agree with me, you know that there are many occasions that you're giving your life to Christ and collected it back. Giving your life to Christ and collected it back. And in your walk with Christ, there now comes a point where you consciously made the decision to follow Jesus and to take on his life. And it's in that consciousness is where you realize that, okay, I understand that there is actually things that I will have to let go of to take on the life of Christ, and I am willing to do it. So that's what counting the cost of following Jesus entails. It's just like a job offer. They give you the terms and conditions of the job. So different jobs have different terms and different conditions. Some jobs you have to wear corporate outfits every day. Some jobs you can be casual. Some jobs, different terms and conditions for different jobs. But they give you the option and say, do you want to take this offer? Yes or no. If you are taking this offer, it means that you're willing to abide by the rules. You're willing to, go by our standards. So it's you now. It's basically that. So this is Christ saying, this is what the package comes with. Are you willing to die to yourself? Are we willing to let go of who you are? Are we willing to do all of that to follow me? And you're like, yes, Lord, I am willing. It means that you've sat down, you've looked everywhere. It wasn't an emotional decision. It wasn't because you heard a sermon that was sensitizing. It wasn't because you heard a sermon that was telling you that, God can give you something. And, if God does not give you the next day, you're like, I'm done. It wasn't an emotional thing. You thought through the process. And that is what Christ wants us to do. He wants us to consciously think it through and decide to take on his life. Which is why he said in Luke 14, he says, who is the person that wants to build a house and doesn't first count the cost? Then he goes on to list the different costs of following Christ. He wants us to make a conscious decision to follow him. So, and I think because of Romans 10 verse 9 is the reason why we make altar calls these days and make people say the sinner's prayer as a way of saying they are confessing Christ as their Lord and believing in their hearts and all of that. But the truth is that there is no way that you make a conscious decision to follow Christ and take on his life that you won't confess him as your Lord. You will not just only confess him as your Lord, you will live like he is your Lord. And which makes the difference. Because a lot of us confess it, I can imagine how many times I confessed it, but I wasn't even living in that reality that Christ was my Lord. Yes, I might not be there right now, but I'm on the journey of doing that. So but it wasn't even in my consciousness at the time, because every time things were bad, I'm like, I'm done. Every time it didn't go well, I'm like, I'm done, because I didn't make the conscious decision to follow Jesus. And what happens when you make the conscious decision to follow Jesus? You do not look back. You don't look back. It's not going to be about oh, Christ is doing something for me, which is why I'm here, or Christ is not doing something for me, which is why I'm not here. So it won't be about what you feel, it won't be about what is happening around you, but you decided to follow him. There are many examples of what the cost of following Christ is, which I have some videos on my channel on those things. It's just about us realizing that it's so much more than an emotional decision. It's more of us sitting down and thinking about it. So when next you want to tell somebody about Christ, tell them about Christ. Tell them about Jesus. Tell them about him, and tell them that, this is, go read the Bible, read more about Christ, and decide to follow him. Don't say, oh, say the sinner's prayer after me. I want to challenge us to do that. Don't say the sinner's prayer after me, but read it, know this Christ, and say, okay, yes, I've read about him, I've heard about him, I've seen what you've told me about Christ, I've seen what you told me about living the life of Christ. Are you now willing to follow him? And let the person make the conscious decision to follow Jesus. My question is to you, have you counted the cost of following Christ? Do you realize that it's important that we count the cost so that we do not look back? Don't forget, it's all about Christ. It's none of us and all of him. See you next week. Bye-bye.